Deadpool and Wolverine is going crazy at the moment, making all of the money, all of the success, all of the great reviews. It is doing really well as far as I know. And because of that, I have to rank the entire X-Men, Wolverine, all the Deadpool movies using a tier list. And yeah. So let's get started talking about the original X-Men, the movie that started it all. And you'll be surprised to hear that I thought this movie was good. Not mid, not amazing, but it was just a good introduction to this X-Men world, introducing us to these very iconic characters: Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, Ian McKellen's Magneto, Patrick Stewart's Charles Xavier. Like, this is the movie that, you know, introduced us to these characters, especially Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, which is obviously the standout of all of these X-Men movies. And he was really fun to watch. It was really weird seeing a very young Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine. That was just, I don't know, it was just weird to see that. And he has some nice moments with the character Rogue. You know, those two have some nice, you know, fun moments together. Magneto was an okay villain. I mean, compared to the type of villains that we get nowadays, he was kind of nothing too crazy. But Ian McKellen is like perfect casting for the role, so I'd say he does a really good job. Charles Xavier, Patrick Stewart, he's also, of course, really good, even if most of the time he's just kind of spouting out exposition in this movie. But it's an introduction, so it's kind of trying to explain how this all works, what are mutants and all that, so I guess it's fine. But other than that, every other character in this movie, like James Marsden, Cyclops, and Jean, and Storm, like, I don't know, all the other characters were kind of bland to me. Overall, though, I didn't mind this movie. I didn't think it was mid. I didn't think it was amazing. I just thought it was a solid introduction to this world. So that's why I'm going to put in A. It's not amazing, not mid. It's just good, a good introduction, and that's it. Nothing else. It was good. All right, it was good. Yeah, but now moving on to X2 or X2 X-Men United, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I'd say this is definitely a slight improvement compared to the first movie, because we don't have to fucking introduce everything now. We can just hop straight into a fresh, brand new story. So that was good. We definitely get to, you know, learn more about Hugh Jackman's Wolverine's backstory with the introduction of Stryker. So that was pretty good. And Hugh Jackman, man, he's always like. He's like the most likable character, man. Like, yeah, sure, he makes some odd decisions sometimes, but overall, he's just like, well, without Wolverine, this franchise would be kind of eh. So, yeah, he's always fun to watch. And, yeah, we get to introduce some new characters like Nightcrawler, Pyro, and I think a few others. So that was kind of cool, and they were alright, I guess. Some nice, okay characters, and it was a solid sequel. It was better than the first movie because we don't have to like explain everything and introduce everyone. It's just like, all right, you know these characters, introduce some new characters, and have a fresh, you know, fun story, and don't have to explain everything. So that's why I'd say this is definitely a slight improvement compared to the first movie. So I'm just gonna put an A. All right, I didn't really say much about it, but it's good. It's a good movie. It's an improvement over the first. That's all I can really say. Coming up next is going to be X-Men: The Last Stand, the completion of the first X-Men trilogy. Yeah, and it's the weakest. Yes, this movie is easily the weakest of the trilogy. The way that they handled the whole Jean Grey, Dark Phoenix, you know, thingo that they, you know, teased at the very end of X2 was a bit disappointing because she didn't really do much, nor really did anything besides causing a bit of destruction near the end of the movie and killing Charles for whatever reason. I don't know why they did kill Charles, but they did that. Other than that, she kind of just stood around like this and did nothing. Yeah, just stood around making the same old like bland face, and she's like, are you trying to be scary or something? Like, why aren't you doing anything? She barely did anything throughout this whole movie, and it really pissed me off. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed with the whole Dark Phoenix part of the movie. Hugh Jackman was fun to watch, and they killed off Cyclops, which was very weird because I thought he was still alive, but they actually did kill him off. Jean Grey killed him, and I was like, what? Okay, he's dead. I honestly thought he was going to come back, but he was just dead, which was, I don't know, I just found kind of odd. There was a version of Juggernaut in this movie, which was, yeah, you know, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. Yeah, there was all that shit. Yeah, this is the weakest of the trilogy. I'm just going to put it in B. It was fine. It wasn't terrible. It was just kind of mid. I don't know. It was just the weakest of the trilogy. But yeah, now moving on to X-Men Origins Wolverine. I'm not gonna, you know, reveal whether I think it's the worst X-Men movie, but I'll say it is pretty bad. It's a pretty fucking bad movie. It feels so, like, separate from the current X-Men movies that we've already gotten. Like, it just, the whole aspect of the movie of, like, Wolverine and Sabretooth being, like, brothers and stuff, and fighting together and all that. It's just weird because, like, Sabretooth and Wolverine in the first X-Men movie didn't, like, spout a word to each other. So then you got this movie where they're, like, brothers and they fought together and all that. It's like, what the fuck? It just feels like its own thing. It feels like this movie's trying to be, it's like its own fucking world. just with Hugh Jackman, and it just, yeah, but they do hint at, you know, that this does take place in the same world. We get a young Cyclops at some point in the movie. We get a Patrick Stewart cameo, which looked absolutely terrible, and it's so green screeny. It looked really fucking bad. We got some cool cameos, like a character named the Blob was, you know, he was there, and that was kind of cool to see him. But yeah, I mean, the action scenes were terrible. Hugh Jackman was really the only thing that made this movie kind of watchable. Other than that, yeah, this movie was just not that great. And this was the first movie to introduce Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, so that's kind of one thing to appreciate about it. But he looks absolutely terrible, and they fucking shut his mouth, which, like, that's the one thing you can't do to Deadpool, and they actually did that. But yeah, I'm gonna put in D. It's a bad movie, but, you know, Hugh Jackman, he carried the movie, man. He was still fun to watch. But yeah, moving on to the next movie, which is X-Men First Class. Enjoyed this movie quite a bit. Wasn't too bad. One thing I really liked about this movie is that it gave, you know, characters that we saw in the original X-Men trilogy more development, like characters like Mystique. I thought she was kind of like okay in the original trilogy. I mean, you know, she had some cool powers, but overall she kind of just she was just kind of a background character. She just kind of stood around and was just Magneto's sidekick. But in this movie, she actually feels like a character. She feels she's more interesting, and I enjoyed her a lot more this time around. And she's also played by Jennifer Lawrence, who did a pretty good job. So, you know, she felt more like a character. Even characters like the, you know, Beast, who was introduced in X-Men The Last Stand. You know, didn't really care about him in The Last Stand. He was just kind of there. In this movie, he's, you know, he feels like a character this time around. He feels more like a character. He feels like an actual person in this movie, and not just some background person. So that was good. I enjoyed James McAvoy as Charles, and especially Michael Fassbender as Magneto. That's perfect casting right there. He did a really good job as a character. He knows how to act like a villain. He was really good. So I enjoyed Michael Fassbender as Magneto. He was really cool. I like how some of the characters in this movie that we got to see in the original trilogy felt more like characters. I enjoyed the younger Charles and Magneto. They were fun to watch. And there's this whole like montage sequence that was kind of like it was done like it was a fucking comic book. And that was also really fun. It's a fun movie. I don't mind it. I'll put an A. Solid movie. It's a solid spin-off, I guess, and or a start to a new trilogy. So it was pretty solid. But yeah, moving on to The Wolverine. I honestly went into this movie expecting not to like it because, like, I don't know, I just thought it looked kind of mid, and the whole Japan aspect of the movie was going to be kind of like I don't care about this. And weirdly enough, I liked it. I kind of enjoyed it. I didn't mind The Wolverine. It was kind of fun. I mean, the movie was well shot. It looked nice. There was some solid action scenes. They were either maybe gone from okay to good. So, you know, action scenes were pretty good. I really like the opening of the movie with, you know, just fucking Wolverine saving that guy from like the explosions and all that. Like, that was really cool. It was a really great way to start the movie, and how it all connects to the end of the movie. You know, I don't know. It was a good movie. I enjoyed it a lot, and I don't know why I enjoyed it. I just really enjoyed it. Hugh Jackman, of course, was fun to watch, and yeah, I mean, there was also some kind of intense moments, especially with, you know, Logan like cutting his heart with his. I won't say, but it was that was kind of a tense scene, and yeah, it was a good movie. It was solid, not amazing, but it was just kind of fun. So I'll put an A. A fun little Wolverine movie in Japan. Yeah, it was weirdly fun. Yeah, moving on to the next movie, which is X-Men Days of Future Past. Finally, an X-Men movie that I can confidently say was awesome, and I really, really, really enjoyed from beginning to end. Yeah, I love this movie. This was a really cool movie, just having the old X-Men be in a movie with the new X-Men that we got to meet in First Class. A really cool idea, and I thought it was executed in a really fun way. Even introducing some new characters like Quicksilver briefly. That one scene with him was just perfect. It was really fun, and that was really cool to see. And I like how this movie was also sort of a proper conclusion to the old X-Men trilogy. Sort of, kind of, but yeah, I'd say it felt more like a proper ending to that X-Men. So yeah, that was cool. The one scene with James McAvoy's Charles meeting up with Patrick Stewart's Charles, them chatting, was really cool and kind of trippy, especially after watching the trilogy and watching First Class and seeing them talk to each other was just like, such a cool moment. And I do like how they get Wolverine to team up with the new X-Men, you know, teaming up with James McAvoy and all that. That was really cool. And definitely made it even more enjoyable because we love Hugh Jackman. And yeah, I'd say like my only issue is that like the climax third act of this movie was that was alright, you know, having like a big stadium and stuff, like a whole football stadium and stuff with Magneto having that and all that. I don't know, I thought the finale of this movie was, it could have been better, but it was still kind of tense in a way, and it wasn't too bad. But overall, I'm gonna put this movie in S. I loved it. It's easily the best X-Men movie with the name X-Men. I can confidently say that. But yeah, really love this movie, man. It was a great movie, and I will definitely rewatch it again. The 2.5 hour runtime, didn't care. I enjoyed this movie from beginning to end. It was really solid and was great. Yeah, moving on to the next movie, which is Deadpool. I think we can all agree that the first Deadpool movie is fucking dope. I love the first Deadpool. Like, I watched this movie years before I even watched the X-Men movies. Like, I didn't care about X-Men and all that. I didn't care about those movies, but I cared about Deadpool, and I watched the first two movies, like, years ago, like, when they first got released, because I knew who Deadpool was, and I thought he was cool, and, like, one of the first, like, R-rated Marvel movies, I was like, I have to watch that, and, yeah, this movie's a fucking blast. I love it. This movie isn't too afraid to get serious at times, which I was perfectly okay with, and Deadpool was fun to watch. His suit looks amazing. To this day, it's just like finally a comic accurate Deadpool suit. It's still satisfying to see that. Ryan Reynolds was a delight. The jokes were actually funny, and I'd say like maybe the villain was probably the weakest part of this movie, like Ajax. What's my name and all that. Like, shut the fuck up. I don't give a shit about that. But overall, still a fun movie, and Ryan Reynolds just carries this movie, makes it really fun. Like one of the first R-rated Marvel movies. Like you gotta, respect this movie for being one of the first. So yeah, love the first Deadpool, and I'm gonna put an S. Great movie, really fun, and I love it, man. It's such a great movie. Good job, Ryan Reynolds. You did good. But yeah, moving on to the next movie, which is X-Men Apocalypse. I heard that apparently the villain of this movie, Apocalypse, was basically seen as the Thanos of the X-Men. I was like, ooh, okay, that's maybe not a bad way to continue this new X-Men. Okay, let's see what they do. Bro, Apocalypse was like a fucking lame villain, man. He was so shit. He was one of the most generic, forgettable villains I've ever seen. Even Oscar Isaac couldn't even pull off a good performance. Like, his voice was completely fucked throughout the entire movie. Like, I saw the trailer for this movie, and I was like, okay, Oscar Isaac at least seems like he's doing a pretty solid job. In the movie, his voice is like fucked up. I don't know what they did, but they completely fucked up his voice, and it completely ruined his performance. So Apocalypse, weak ass villain, didn't like him, and that was the only interesting thing about this movie. Everything else though, I don't know. I mean, the characters were okay. I mean, we are introduced to some new characters. Once again, we are given another young Cyclops, which and we are given a young Jean Grey. I'll talk more about her when we get into Dark Phoenix, but I'll just say the actress doesn't do a very good job. I'll just say that for right now. She's not very good. The final battle of this movie was so lame. It was so shit, and it went on for so long as well. I just remember, why did it go on for so long, man? And it just didn't look good at all. Like the CGI and all that, it just didn't look nice at all. So yeah, the finale of this movie just went on for too long, and I did not like this movie, man. The only one thing I liked about it was the Quicksilver scene. It was longer than how it was in Days of Future Past, and I'm okay with that. It was still a fun scene, and I liked it. Other than that, everything else about this movie was not great, and it was pretty bad, and I'm gonna put it in C. Not horrendous, but it's, yeah, pretty fucking bad. I did not like it at all. But, yeah, moving on to the next movie, which is Logan. Great movie, man. Really enjoyed it quite a bit. I just, I love seeing an old, fucked up Wolverine, man. It was fun to watch. And also, yes, this is the first R-rated Wolverine movie. I feel like this was something that fans were waiting so long for after, like, spending 20 years with this character and with Hugh Jackman. It's like, when the fuck are we gonna get Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in an R-rated movie? And he finally got one. So I feel like this would have been very satisfying for fans. So yeah, this would have been really cool for them. And yeah, it was great to see Wolverine do some fucking fucked up shit with his claws. So that was satisfying. And yeah, this is just a solid movie. A great conclusion to Hugh Jackman's Wolverine after spending almost 20 years with him, which is crazy to think about. Near the end of the movie, just kind of hanging out with, these young mutants who are lost and don't really know where to go. Just seeing him hang out with them and, even like protect him, before he eventually gets killed, unfortunately. Just seeing him, fight and help them out, and, it felt like such a Hugh Jackman Wolverine thing to do. I don't know. It just felt like something he would do. So, that was a really cool moment, and, it was good to watch. We even get Patrick Stewart back as Charles Xavier, which was very surprising. A much older Charles Xavier, who was given a very brutal death, which is I'm still pretty shocked to think about. X-23 was also really good. This is a great movie, man. The only aspect of the movie I don't really like is like the villain? Who the fuck was the villain in this movie? I don't really entirely know. There was like an evil Wolverine in this movie, so there was that. So I guess that was kind of the main villain, but there's also these other guys in it as well. I don't know, the whole villain aspect is kind of weird. But other than that, great Wolverine movie, a great conclusion to Hugh Jackman's character, and obviously until Deadpool Wolverine. But overall, it's still a great conclusion. I'm gonna put an S. Solid movie, great movie, and it's a great Wolverine movie. Yeah, moving on to the next movie, which is Deadpool 2. A very solid sequel, enjoyed it quite a bit. Not as good as the first movie. I'd say like the story just wasn't really it for me. I mean, him just kind of trying to protect the kid, Fire Fist or whatever. I guess it was alright looking back at it, but I don't know, it wasn't like the most interesting story, I guess. It was alright. But we definitely get some really cool moments in this movie, and the whole scene with him, you know, X-Force or whatever you want to call it, that entire scene and they all just fucking die was really funny and easily one of the funniest scenes of this movie. Josh Brolin as Cable was also fun to watch. He wasn't really scary, I'd say. He was just kind of funny. Domino was also a pretty fun character with her lock powers and whatever. It's like fucking unstoppable, man. So, you know, that's cool. And even like the emotional aspects of the movie with, you know, of course, Vanessa, his wife, getting killed at the start, and then, you know, I guess a few scenes of him being in heaven with her and not getting to at the end. You know, the emotional aspect of the movie wasn't too bad as well. These movies are at least like, they're genuinely funny. They're actually funny movies, so it's always a relief when going back to the Deadpool movies after watching the unfunny MCU movies. But yeah, solid movie. CGI was a bit wonky at times. It wasn't great. It was a bit yeah, fun movie, just not as good as the first. Yeah, I'll put an A. Solid, but not amazing. It was solid though. Yeah, moving on to the next movie, which is Dark Phoenix. My least favorite movie in the entire X-Men trilogy, even with the Deadpool movies as well. This is like my least favorite out of all the movies on this fucking list. I hated this movie. I did not have a good time. I just wanted it to end. Like, Sophie Turner, like I mentioned in Apocalypse, I didn't think she was very good in that movie as a young Jean Grey. So I was like, oh god, I'm not really looking forward to seeing her in this movie. And yeah, she was not good. Most of the movie, she's just kind of complaining, she's whining, and like, oh, what's happening to me? Oh, no, it's not me, I'm not doing this. And it's like, she's really bad. She's not good. She's not a good actress, man. I don't know. I just thought she wasn't good at all in this movie. She's really bad, and this is her movie. It's literally called Dark Phoenix, and she was really bad, man. Jessica Chastain in this movie as the villain. She's an alien, or she's been taken over by an alien, and it's just a random fucking alien that's the villain of this movie, and the alien's, you know, played by Jessica Chastain. It's like, what the fuck is this? So the villain was shit. Jessica Chastain, every time she would appear on screen, I'd be like, fuck off, because she was always annoying. Charles, the Beast, Mystique, who gets killed for whatever reason. You know, just, I didn't care about these characters. They couldn't make me enjoy this movie. I fucking hated this movie, man. It was so lame, man. So yeah, I'm putting this movie in D. I hated this movie. Yes, I hated it more than X-Men Origins Wolverine. I'm sorry, but this movie, god, Hugh Jackman at least carried that movie, but this movie, there was nothing that carried this movie. It was just flat out bad. So, I'm sorry. But yeah, moving on to the next movie, which is The New Mutants. Yeah, this is one of the most random, weirdest movies I've ever seen. Like, it's just these young mutants staying at this facility with this random woman who might have some devious plans, and they're kind of trapped here, and it's a very like tiny movie as well. Like, it's got a very small cast of people. The highlight of this movie, I'd say, was Anya Taylor-Joy. She was good. I mean, her character was kind of a prick for the majority of the movie, but like, I enjoyed her the most and found her the most interesting. So even her backstory was weird, but also even that was kind of interesting. So Anya Taylor-Joy was good. The finale gets kind of weird, and some of the CGI is kind of a bit weird as well. There's a bit of horror in this movie as well. There's a bit of some monsters lurking in this movie. There's like one Slender Man looking creature that wanders around in this movie, and I mean, he didn't look great, but yeah, it was that. There's a bit of horror in this movie, but yeah. Weird fucking movie, man. I'm just gonna put in C. It wasn't like horrendous, but it was like, it's just a weird random movie, man. I don't know what this was. It was weird. But yeah, moving on to the last movie, to the most recent movie, the brand new Deadpool and Wolverine. Fun fucking movie, man. Another really solid, fun Deadpool movie, especially with him now teaming up with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, or a version of him, you know? That was also, of course, very satisfying. Action scenes, amazing, really, really good. You could say, you know, the look of this movie overall, like, it is kind of a bland looking movie, but the action scenes, you gotta credit that. Like, these movies, like, they have really good action, man. And this movie specifically, like, great action scenes, especially with Deadpool and Wolverine. Cameos, you know, what you'd expect from a multiverse movie, they were fine. You know, Gambit, Blade, Elektra, and all that. X-23, you know, an okay lineup of cameos. It was fine. I don't know, I wasn't too crazy about it. It was alright. Cassandra Nova as, I guess, the villain of the movie, also kind of forgettable, kind of I don't know. Yeah. But overall, Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds were really fun to watch. Some really funny jokes in an MCU movie. That's fucking weird. This is an MCU movie and actually has genuinely funny moments. That's weird to say. Solid movie. I'd say it's better than Deadpool 2. Not as good as the first movie, but overall, really solid. I'm gonna put an A. Great movie, man. Really fun. And Ryan Reynolds, please come back as Deadpool, please. And this is it, guys. This is my tier list of the entire X-Men, Deadpool, Wolverine universe movies, and I'd say it's pretty fair. A pretty fair list. Yeah, you can't hate on it. Yeah, that's pretty fair. I hope. Yeah, pretty good. But yeah, thank you for watching. You can share your ranking in the comment section below of your ranking of the entire X-Men, all the X-Men movies. I'll see you guys in the next video. Yeah, bye. Sorry, but like I really enjoyed Deadpool and Wolverine, but there was one cameo that I was really hoping for. We didn't get it, man. It was really disappointing, and it was, well, why don't I just bring him in here? Come in here, come on. That's the one, yes. Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider. We all wanted him back. Look at him, he's fucking glorious. How could he not come back in fucking Deadpool? Like, Ryan Reynolds, what is wrong with you, you fucking piece of shit?